the most important key is perspective.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I'm being honest, I like what that one guy said, where he said,
Get out of your echo chambers.
Everybody get out of your echo chambers. Try to build steel man arguments for your enemies. Try to understand whatever irks you.
Yes.
There is gold in there. So go down and sniff around and find it. Welcome, modern day mystics, fellow truth seekers. James and Justin here, your favorite spiritual analysts on all things culturally relevant, helping you better connect with this divine, yet somewhat peculiar reality we all find ourselves in. We've got a controversial one on the docket today. Vice did a piece this week on colorism, and to a certain extent, there was also a bit of, what do they call it? Bleaching of the skin in there in that video. We're not going to focus so much on that because I still think the high priority in this video was the subject of colorism. Is it a thing? Is it still relevant?
Yeah.
And all that stuff. So
the discussion.
This can be choppy waters for people.
So hang in there.
Let us get let's just get into it, and then we'll dissect it as it goes forth.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us today. My name is Alexis Johnson. I'm a correspondent with Vice News, and I'll also be acting as our moderator for today's panel. We first want to put out the disclaimer that, we've done our best to get you all here today of different ethnicities, different shades, different skin tones to talk about this topic, but we realize we can't represent everybody in this discussion, okay?
Okay, so just first note, I think it's important to say that to notice here is that although you do see lighter skinned people on this panel, I don't think anyone identifies as like white Caucasian or Asian. I didn't see any Asians in there. So when you have a conversation like this, maybe it's up for debate. Maybe, they chose not to have any of those people in this panel, but I think it is worth noting that's not there. But we'll keep
maybe what they meant by that is that they chose a color palette for less of a fucking, sensitive way of saying it.
Yeah.
Maybe they chose this particular group of people because they're obviously this issue is most relevant for them.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Let's keep it going.
Today we're going to be discussing a topic that, as a brown-skinned black woman moving throughout the world, it's something that I think about a lot. It's something that I hear being discussed a lot, both in real life, online, in the media. Today we're here to talk about colorism. What is colorism and how do you define it?
Hi, my name is Koa and I identify as biracial. I think about colorism as a distinct hierarchy that is anchored in a proximity to whiteness.
Interesting. I think colorism is internalized racism. I'm Calvin West, and I am an American.
So those are two wildly different views. What do you think he meant by that? By internalized racism?
I can only speculate because okay. I think what he means is people that are of African descent or black people looking at the shades of each other's skin and making prejudgments based on that.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Whereas the other person seemed to think that it was like this scale of lightness to darkness.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But
making a judgment based on that.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I've just at a glance, I don't know if there's any Indian people in there. Okay.
Yeah.
And I can't speak on this from any kind of a personal experience, obviously. But I've known some Indian families and that sort of thing. And from what I gather, there is a little bit of, or maybe a lot, I don't know, but at least some, at some point in time where they would have high regard for people with lighter skin.
Yeah.
That's a thing, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe you can say whether I'm out to lunch or whether you've heard of that in the comments.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Maya. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm black. So I actually think that colorism existed before racism, and the fact that historically, for example, if you look at Europe or Asia, like serfs, peasants, people who were in the lower classes had to work and toil in the sun, and those who were royalty or aristocrats or whatever tend to be lighter skin, and so there has historically been a privileging of lighter skin over darker skinned individuals. But I think that with the onset of global white supremacy fueled by European colonialism, 1492 onward, it was then absorbed into racism.
Yeah, I completely agree as well.
Okay.
Is that it?
No, that's just the first little snippet. So I got a few takes here that we're going to take from inside this conversation. I picked those 3 intro because they were all a little bit different in the way that they kind of took on the subject of colorism. Although with the last person there was a bunch of people to the left of her, or I guess her right, that were like, yeah, we're with you. We agree on that. Not everyone on this panel agrees with this definition of colorism.
Okay.
So the inside this conversation, which I'm going to leave a link in the box so you can watch the full thing. There's a lot of people telling their stories about, how colorism has affected them or hasn't affected them, whether in a positive light or in a negative light. So I picked 2 clips here to they were like what I kind of saw as some of the highlights of this conversation. We're going to take a look at those now, and then we'll kind of unpack those.
And if you're looking for racism, you're going to find it. If you're looking for colorism, you're going to find it. And I think, that's not, I'm not trying to negate anybody's lived experience, but I think that there's also a thing in life that if you're looking for something, you can speak it into existence.
Elmer?
Yeah, so to speak to that, let's say me and Kelvin were in a group chat with a non-black person, and they sent a gift that could be considered a black gift. I think it's, and I accuse them of digital blackface, but he doesn't. And so, pause it there, because you guys were saying, like, just because something's happening, or like, if we have different feelings on it, whose point of view determines if something is actually happening or not, or if we're still in the realm of opinion and feeling?
I think as a non-black person, if even one black person told me something's not okay, I would listen to them. It could be 1 out of 100. I would really...
You don't think that's dangerous? I'm sorry to cut
Very
you off,
dangerous.
but you don't think that's
Very
dangerous?
That's insane.
Because you're giving me the power to determine how you interact with
But it's
black
really
people.
not that much power to not use a gift that's not meant for me.
Who said it's not meant for you? If we create content as black people, we're not posting it on a website where only black people can get into. We're sharing it with you. I think people get offended when people misuse the content that we have and abuse it. But I can't tell you what gift. I mean, if it has the N-word in it real big, I'm gonna take offense to that. But you already knew that. You already knew that. But if it's like a niche, popular black person who does comedy and you post their gift, I'm not gonna say, well, hey, slow down. Like I don't have that kind of power to tell someone that, and it's dangerous.
Now, the reason that I picked that clip, right, is because this is that comment that the lady made behind the man. That is kind of like the one side of this spectrum where this conversation tends to go sometimes, where people, they get afraid to speak and speak their mind on something, so much so that they're willing to say that, well, whatever you say then is right. This is kind of like the far side of the spectrum in this, like, where people of lighter skin, not here, or if they were in this conversation, might be afraid to even just speak their mind for fear of being canceled or something out there. I think that it's a delicate subject that requires,
No shit, it's a delicate subject.
a little bit of smoothness inside of it. But this is the part where, like, people from maybe the other side of the spectrum on this subject might be like, wait a second, I can't say anything?
The thing with this video, with the one we're watching, is there are people that, okay, and without making an assumption about what I'm getting at here, there are people that will watch this and be upset from the get-go. Every single thing that's said and done in this video, they can't even hear it. There can definitely be people upset at us reacting to it. Without a doubt, that's going to happen. I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
You know, we cut out the part about skin bleaching. But
Yeah.
the thing in my mind about that is, should people have to feel like they need to be whiter? I don't like that. I don't think so. I don't think like people should have to go to any extent to lighten their damn skin. You know, I don't think, I think that's a societal problem if that's occurring. Right? And this conversation, you know, that the black guy reacting to what that the whitest person on the panel said, you know, it's very tricky because if other white people, you know, go up and put their arms around that black guy and be like, yeah, see, we can use your stuff. That like reeks of just, what the fuck are you doing, man?
Yeah.
You know, that's for that guy to say, you know. Do I agree with that woman's ridiculous ass fucking statement about, you know, I won't use a black meme if it offends one black person or something?
Yeah.
That's a ridiculous fucking statement because what you're gonna not help promote that guy? Now it's segregation, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
You know? I don't even think we should be talking about this shit. You know, it's not our fight. It's got nothing to do with us. That's my disclaimer here.
Yeah.
But let's go for the ride. Woo!
The type of attention that I have received societally, professionally, and culturally is unlike anything that the darker women on my side of the family have experienced. It's very clear that when white people approach or engage with us or interact with us in any way, I am the one they feel comfortable talking to. I am the one that they want to take the order from. I am the one that they bring the bill to. I am the one that is deemed non-threatening. I am the one that is never loitering. I am the one that could never be doing anything wrong. And I feel like for the darker women in my family, that's extremely painful.
Thank you for sharing that.
Okay, so I wanted to pick that clip, and good that I was able to pause it on her face like that, because this is the other side of the spectrum where this becomes very real. Depending on where you live, people treat this subject as if it's like the same everywhere, where like everyone's experiencing the exact same type of colorism all over the planet, and it's some unifying thing. Like, no, I sometimes feel like it gets a spotlight pushed in a certain narrative in some places, and what this person's going through is obviously extremely real. So depending upon where you live on planet Earth, this is going to resonate with you more than other. And yes, this should be something that we deal with and something that is addressed in high volume areas where the negative side of this is seen.
I hold honesty in the highest regard. I know not everybody does, and maybe I'm actually wrong for caring a lot about somebody's honest opinion and feelings about things.
Yeah.
I'm non-manipulative, non-doctored, fucking non-tactful. You're not even being tactful. That's how goddamn honest you're being. I respect it because it's at least fucking true.
Yeah.
Right? So if somebody comes along and they think racism is a non-issue, I think you're wrong. If somebody comes along and says that it's a pernicious issue in some area where it isn't, that's wrong too.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how the one black guy that went to my school feels. I don't know how. Maybe he didn't like the fact that everybody, you know, he was a nice guy.
Yeah.
Everybody, you know, from what I could tell, everybody liked him. I was friends with him.
Yeah.
You know, but that gives you a hint of how much experience I fucking have. You know, we grew up in southern Ontario in a sticks town. Yeah. You know, there wasn't much diversity back then. But then as I got older and went to high school, I was experienced more. And now there's plenty of it. You know, as I grew up into a man and went into the world. Yeah. You know, but this shit is very tricky to comment on without. She's having an emotional reaction to it. You know, she's literally like upset at her experience of people being nicer to white people than the darker members of her family. That's fucked up.
If you could take like anything from it, just to be more sensitive, maybe if you got that, or be more compassionate to that, it's actually real and affects people. It's not just like it doesn't have, I've never even experienced it or anything like that, so I'm just gonna, you know, sweep it under the rug and not, you know.
Well, when you hear shit like this, okay, like, imagine having very little exposure. You're a small town person and you just like it that way.
Yeah.
And then you start getting hearing comments like, you know, it's impossible to be racist towards a white person, but white people are pieces of shit. You know,
Yeah.
or for instance, somebody says like, oh, you want to get that job? Well, you know, they're not hiring white people, which happens.
Yeah.
There will be people, if they hear me say that, like complaining that there are some jobs you can't, because I've been told that by people in that field. You're the wrong color. People will be fucking pissed. How dare you?
Yeah.
I have no problem with whatever, you know, if you're going to be upset at something, why don't you get upset at my complete non-partiality to people who are any color, people that are any gender, any way of identifying. I accept them all.
Yeah.
But so imagine that same small town guy with zero, you know, only surrounded by one type of people, and then he logs onto the internet and people are talking about how you can't, you know, it's impossible to be racist towards white people. Now, somehow I inserted my own things into this fucking thing. It's got nothing to do with me. Other than the fact that, you know, they're trying to bring awareness, right? It does have to do with us in a sense that this is a public forum, so anyone can see this and understand a little bit more about these people's struggles and something very real to them.
Yeah.
You know, that sucks. I don't want that.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, hopefully this is helpful.
Yeah. Well, the next segment that we're going to go into is the person who's kind of like navigating this whole discussion asks them all what they see as solutions to this issue.
So it's clear that, you know, we obviously have different views on this topic. If we have so many people that are on different pages about this issue, how do we move forward as a society in changing it?
I personally feel that colorism is never going to end, honestly, but if I was to give a solution, I would say people should just, you know, promote like all skin tones and have everyone on at an equal level and not one higher than the other.
One solution, or one kind of like tiny bit into the solution, would be just more media representation.
Yeah, I also think it starts, of course, in the home, the way you talk about it, but I think people that are in positions of power need to use their power, whether that be black people or white people. Use that power to show darker skinned people in the media. You know, we need to see more of it.
The first thing you want to do is accept yourself. And then I think you're a little bit better equipped to fight against these things.
I think I want to kind of empower folks who don't think that they can make a difference. Yeah, and encouraging people to be more critical about their proximity to whiteness and how they take up space is one where, like, at least at the local level, we can maybe start to see some shift and change.
Get out of your echo chambers. If you are around people who are saying the same things and they're thinking the same way that you are part of the problem.
I think that anything that we do to address or not address colorism will happen collectively and will happen across gender, across race, across class, across ability, and that purporting individual solutions is false and also very seductive.
Yeah, I would say I implore people to believe that change is possible on many fronts, like on an individual level, like changing internally how you feel about yourself, your self-esteem, and also on a systemic level, demanding that the systems serve people who historically have been antagonized by the system. I think those two things should not be divorced from each other.
In terms of solutions to colorism, I would like to see these conversations prioritize the voices of, like, not just darker skinned people who have the lived experiences of colorism, but also like folks, or like usually it's darker skinned people who've like done research and like have expertise on like understanding the system of dominance. Like, I think that I'm really, really tired of seeing lighter skinned people like say the exact same things and parrot the voices of darker skinned people and get claps and applause by darker skinned people received antagonism, you know, replicating colorism.
Okay. I want to thank you all for giving us your time today. I know it was got pretty intense at times. It's a difficult conversation, but it is an important one. I don't know if we changed any minds, but I definitely learned a lot from listening to you all today, and hopefully our audience will as well. So thank you. Thank you for coming on.
So there you have it. A lot of final comments there. The one with like the media thing, I feel like, I guess you can insert more like colored people like of all various rates into the media, but I don't know. I feel like I get so I feel like we're already there. Like there's literally nothing I can turn on that doesn't have
perspective plays
multi-diverse.
The most important key is perspective.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I'm being honest, I like what that one guy said, where he said,
"Get out of your echo chambers.
Everybody get out of your echo chambers. Try to build steel man arguments for your enemies. Try to understand whatever irks you.
Yes.
There is gold in there. So go down and sniff around and find it. But at the same time, if somebody's had a traumatizing goddamn experience and they've they fought through life and they got out of that situation, they clawed themselves to a group of people that are like, you're safe, and we're you ever notice this about TV, because they happen to only see shows that don't have good black representation, or maybe there isn't enough, literally. They find that, and then some guy goes, you need to get out of your echo chamber. You need to stop being around people that verify what you're saying. That could drive you fucking nuts. You'd be like, no, man, my experience was hell.
Yeah.
You know? Perspective is everything. And how do you gain the most perspective? By shaking it up. By going and being around people you wouldn't normally be around. By going and experiencing things you wouldn't normally do. Yeah. Is that also a way to get absolutely burned? You bet your sweet ass it is a total way to get burned. Yeah. You know, you'd be like, I'm going to go culturally, like, make myself more understanding. And then you go somewhere and they wipe the floor with you because you're an ignorant idiot. But it's also the only way to gain any fucking wisdom.
Well, I think time and evolution, and as the world becomes a smaller place and we become more interconnected, you will probably, I'm guessing, you will see less of this. Because when you have to live beside your neighbors daily, constantly, you know, irrespective of whatever, you know, race or color that they are, you have to find ways to get along and respect each other and love each other. And I think that's one of the keys to this. And education is always going to be one.
Be honest and be able to tolerate hard truths. So if we're going to become, either we want to become one mega race of all the same color, which fine and dandy, which some people might be like, no, man, like I want to save some of my cultural traditions. And, you know, two different opinions about just that one idea of everybody blending races.
Yeah.
We have to be fucking honest about things. You know, is it honest to go, we're getting too many Asians in Harvard, put a cap on the Asians? Is that an honest approach? Did we really look at what the fuck was going on there? Like, wait a minute, what does this say about everything? What does it say about fucking everything? It's not possible, from what I know, to raise your IQ in your life. But I do believe it, and it might be, maybe that is possible, but who knows? But I do think it's definitely possible to become wise. You can be a moron and gain like wisdom about life. But you gotta be, but I think the guiding light for all of us is gonna be honesty, patience, you know, like being patient with hard truths that come down the pipe, you know, like, and taking a crazy amount of responsibility. The different people have a different attitude about this. Some people's attitude is like, y'all need to change like crazy, and some people on that panel's response was like, you got to get yourself fucking right and together. You know, that was what I saw.
Yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong. You know, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments.
Yeah, well, here's your time to chime in. I'm sure we'll get it from this video, but we want to thank everyone for watching this. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share with a friend, everyone, and everyone stay spiritual.